Welcome, ladies. Welcome, welcome. It is April 7th, 2014, Monday, and we're in daylight saving time. And I gotta admit to you, I love daylight saving time. I'm gonna fix this to make sure everybody can hear me. Are y'all there? Alrighty. We have so many things to talk about. Oh my head is just flooded with stuff. All right, so we're going to start traditionally. Thank you for being here. I love you guys. We really appreciate that you're here, and it is a lot of fun. And we're all getting smarter and smarter and better. Okay, so we're going to start traditionally. We have our 15 minutes questions and answers. We're a little bit late tonight, so we'll go a little bit beyond, but we'll stay with our time frame. Or maybe we'll run out of things to say and we'll quit early. Who knows? You never know on this live stuff, right? Um, so questions, answers. Do we need some, or do you want me to start? Because you guys, when you email me questions, don't email me them on Monday, okay? That's not a good chance of the questions getting answered. That's not to say I don't, and I try, but like email to me like the week before if you come up with them. And that's just so I can kind of prepare a little bit better. All right, is that a deal? This really is done. This webcast is usually done by last week. So we set up the room and get it set, but the time slot is kind of full. So if we try to put more in, it's hard. I shortened Maggie's blouse. Maggie's blouse is pattern number 611, 3 inches, and the length is perfect. Will I need to make the same adjustment for Craig's blouse? Probably. Probably. But what you should do is you should take a measurement that goes from the base of the neck on the pattern. I'm going to grab this pattern over here real quick. Hold on. All right, I'm going to show you this one. This is the pattern we're using tonight. This is Stephanie's blouse. This is the base of the neck where the shoulder seam meets the neckline. At that base, and measure from that point to the hem. And get a number that you like. And then no matter what pattern you use, if that's the length you like, then you can just go in and, you'll have your number. Okay? If you have a dress pattern with a bust dart and a two-ended waist dart, can they both be moved into a French dart? And if so, how? No. No, they can't. Okay, so let's go back to definitions here a minute. And I love these questions, you guys, but we're kind of getting convoluted here. A French dart, by definition, is when the bust dart and the waist dart are combined together in a dart that starts at the lower bodice of the side seam, the lower third of the side seam bodice. A French dart, a sheath dress is kind of what you're saying. If it has a bust dart and a waist dart, that's a sheath dress. A sheath dress, the dart from the top and the dart from the skirt are combined together. Now, you could take the bust dart and waist dart and combine them, and then as you move that waist dart, see, you don't have the rules on waist darts that you do on bust darts. Bust darts have to be within a bust circle, 4 inches from center front. They're a little more strict because you're dealing with bigger bumps than you are generally in the bottom half of the body. The only reason you're dealing with waist darts is you're trying to take up the difference between the hip and the waist, and in doing that, if you take up too much in one spot, then the garment goes to bias, and we know bias is lack of stability. So I can actually take the waist darts out of the side seam. So I could just simply take that French dart and make it larger, and that would impact the waist dart and make it larger. So I could do it, but the dart would have to come much lower. It couldn't start in the upper third, the lower third side seam of the bodice, because it would really have to start among high hip area. And it could do that, but it couldn't, I think you get that. Okay, does that make sense? You've got to consider where the placement of that waist dart is, because it's taking out the difference between the waist and the hip. And you can't put it way up in the bodice, because then it won't have the impact as to where it is, the relative area that it belongs in. Okay? Okay, if my hip is 46 and the pattern I want to use is for size 6 has a finished hip of 48, does that mean I will have 2 inches of ease? It does. It does. Perfect. Peggy, what are you wearing? Very pretty. Oh, thank you. It's pattern number 619. It's called 619. 6:15. I'm sorry. It's 6:15. It's called Kathy's top. Kathy's blouse, whatever. I love the raglan. It's a it's not a raglan. It's a kimono. No, it's a raglan. 6:15. Sorry, it's a kimono. See, I told you I didn't do this today, so all my numbers are going around in my head. It's a kimono sleeve, and a lot of times people have said, "Oh, you never have kimonos." We do have kimonos, but there's drawbacks to kimonos. So, just a heads up. And oh, it's also white Pontoroma knit because I wanted to talk about in general. We can use Pontoroma knits. So many of us use them for just yoga pants, and I want you to get out of that box. It really, Pontoromas are great, and we have the white up, and we'll have this up. We have like, I don't know, 12, 15 new fabrics up, and we'll have more up by tomorrow. The guys are still working on getting more up. But we've got a lot of fabrics. We've had a lot of fabrics. We haven't had time. We're getting them up because we're getting more fabrics in. So we got to get these up before we have the more up. We do really well with fabrics, you guys, and so thank you for that. Um, but I think it just says that you really like what we are giving, and we really try hard to keep these prices down. Prices go up a little bit if it's a rare rarity or if we don't have a lot of it on hand. So that's kind of why the prices go up a little bit. If they go up a little bit, I hate for you to tell you to sit on that because those fabrics go really fast. We don't get a lot of them. So that's kind of why we price it a little bit higher, is to slow down the sale a little bit. If that makes sense. Okay, is it a dress or a long top? It's just a long top. I've got yoga pants on with it, if you can see that. It's got little slits in the side. It's a longer top. It's just below my rear end. I could wear leggings with it, but I don't. I've got yoga pants on. How much stretch in this stretch woven fabric? I have some right here. Um, we'll talk about this top a little bit later. It's just a slight stretch. It's like 4 to 4.5, 4 to 4.5. It's a very slight stretch. It's not even a moderate. If using for pants, would I use my size for my woven muslin or a size smaller? All right, you guys, that's not a simple answer. I know, but that's not a simple answer. Here's the problem. And I'm getting this a lot. And so we got to change this up. I had a lady who emailed me a little while ago, and she said, okay, I made my woven pants, and then I went ahead and made knit pants. And she said they didn't work. And it's kind of like saying, well, I made a blouse and then I made a t-shirt. It isn't going to work. There's too many differences between fabrics and changes. If you're going to use a stretch, just throw together a quick muslin. I mean, most likely if you're using your woven muslin, it's going to be pretty good, but there are some tweaking that will be at the top of the thigh, at the top of the inseam, that will need to take place. And at the, center back of the rear end, the hip line. Those two places, I mean, you could probably just tweak them and then throw a pair together, but those are the two places that you need to watch for. And if I were going to do a pair of stretch pants out of this stretch wovens, and these stretch wovens are beautiful. I mean, I am so excited to have found them. I cannot even tell you. Just the combination, this top we're going to look at later, the combination when you take a knit top and a woven collar. Anyway, we'll get to that later. I just love it. I love the look. It's so clean, it's so professional, and it's really nice. But anyway, those that stretch cotton bottoms, if I had just 1 yard of fabric and I didn't have place to do a muslin, I would just tweak the top of the inseam and I would tweak the center back, and I would say it's probably close enough. Again, don't get crazy on your fit. Don't get to where it's just perfect. There's no such thing, especially with pants, on perfection. They really, we move in them too much. Okay? Okay. I used your fold over elastic. Which side is the right side? Either side you want. And what she's referring to is there's a shiny side and a matte side. I've used both. Actually, this is the fold over elastic on this edge, this upper edge right here. I used the white fold over elastic, and I know you probably can't see it there, but I used the matte side. But again, you could use, there's not a right side. It's whatever side is appropriate for what you're doing, and you can see it easily folds to the shine side or to the matte side. Okay? Good question though. The sleeves, this is a fabric that we've got in. It was the next group of fabric that we were putting up. So we'll have it up tonight. We'll have it for tomorrow. We haven't named it yet. We'll call it white lacy holes or something. We'll come up with a name, but We just today was a push of a day. It just a lot of great things, but so many great things that we didn't get up as many fabrics as we wanted to. There's, like I said, a lot of new ones up, but by the time the email goes out tomorrow, we'll have this up, and there's some other really beautiful fabrics that we'll have up, and then there's a whole bunch more that we won't have up till next week. So we'll get them all. We'll get caught up. Okay, so I had a question that was emailed to me about peplums and showing that they're very popular, um, and just how to do them. I just want to make sure I'm reading this correctly. Um, Notice peplums on a lot of things, on how to do them to different patterns. Okay, so there's two types of peplums that you can deal with. One is you literally can bring the garment into the waist, fitted. Generally when you do a peplum, you've got to make the top of the garment fitted. If it's not, it won't look like a peplum. It's got to have, the peplum really is the difference between the fit and then the fullness of that peplum. So you can do that with a seam at the waist, or you can simply do it with vertical seams, princess seams, where the garment actually goes in, fits to the waist, and then goes back out. So I'm going to refer you back to 1750, because 1750, when we were doing the Robin's jacket, I did a jacket on the peplum. Now this has to get finished next week because I'm wearing it, but it's not finished right now. And so remember that with this, what I did is, to make this peplum, is I added 2 inches on each side of the pattern. But again, what you want to do is measure. This is all styling. Measure. Usually the peplum is about 6 to 7 inches below your waist. Again, that's styling. I've seen peplums as short as 4 inches. I don't like them that short because I think they're too, I think they're just too much, too fullness, too fast. Is kind of what I think. But what you'll want to do is notice how far the hem goes below your waist. Then you'll want to literally measure the bottom of the peplum versus the waist size, so you get a difference, because then you can count how many pieces, and you can simply say, okay, each piece has been increased by X number of inches all the way around, and that's all you have to do. If you want a waist seam, just simply, you could put a tie at your waist, mark that on your tissue, and then cut the pattern, add seam allowance to both pieces. Copy the pattern and then cut it, and then add seam allowance to the top and to the peplum part, and then you can just sew it on. If you look at 475, which is Judy's blouse, that has a peplum on it. 475 does. And it's a great look. I mean, it's very stylish. It's very in right now. This whole cycle of fashion we go through, peplums are really good. But this is Annie. Email me if you have any more questions about it. I find them to be really simple but very flattering. The whole blouson idea is that when you blouse something, everything underneath it looks thinner. The peplum is the same concept, because the peplum goes out and it makes your waist, or excuse me, makes your hips and waist appear to be smaller than what they are. Okay? Okay. Now I did also want to answer another question to pattern number 219, because somebody was struggling with how to put it together, and so I'm going to use this as an example because this has different colors on it. I think you'll really be able to see this. I'm going to lift this up and you can see that here's the sleeve. A lot of people don't understand there's a sleeve, and that's because when we drew it we didn't draw on the sleeve, so I get why you would be confused. But anyway, there is a sleeve in this pattern. It's 219. It's called Rachel's Top. So if you look underneath, you see this little arms gusset. I mean, I don't know what we called it, but we'll call it a little gusset. I'm going to actually turn it around to the front. That gusset's a little bit bigger. So when you go to sew on the gusset to the blouse, you sew the gusset and this thing all together. You finish this edge. I just did a serged edge, a rolled edge, and then you put right sides together, and you've got the gusset right sides together, so it's actually going this way. There's no sleeve in it at this time, and you sew all the way from here up to here. You sew along this seam, right along here. Well, actually, you only have to start here. No, you have to sew all the way around because it's attached to the blouse. So you sew all the way around. Then you can actually sew the sleeve in again, and then you sew the side seam. Okay? So just recognize that the gusset is part of the bodice, really. It's not really a gusset. It's actually just so that this sleeve could be sewn lower so it didn't have to stop at the sleeve, so that it could actually go lower. And so that you wouldn't see your body underneath there, we put in a little piece of fabric. Okay? And for a long time, you guys, I just thought of this actually. So many of you, the front of this pattern has kind of this fabric, and so many of you ask me, where could you get that fabric? Where could you get that fabric? Well, here's the fabric. I just thought of this. So this would be really pretty to do in this type of sleeve. If you did the body in a color, in lots of any different knit, and then picked up just the sleeve, the butterfly sleeve, in something like this. Okay. All right. So there's those questions that I had. On Lana's jeans? Okay. On Lana's jeans, is there a limit to how much you can add to slashing the hip line? I do not want to throw center back off kilter, but I will need to add about 3 inches to make a fit. Okay, so you're talking two different things. I'm hearing two different things now. When you are slashing, you're slashing horizontally. So when you slash horizontally and you pull up center back, that whole center back is on bias anyway. What should be your limits when you go to slash that back? The whole reason you should be slashing that back is the jean is going to pull down at the waist, at center back waist. So you're going to have kind of like a V that goes at center back waist. So you can't, the only reason to slash it is to pull up the center back. For years we've been told to just add it at the top of the waist until it fills in, and obviously you guys know by now that doesn't work. So you're slashing to make the pattern, to give the pattern more depth at the rear end where you need it. So 3 inches is really not that much. It's maybe a good amount. Is it our pattern? Because that's, oh, she did say on which pattern was it? Oh, the jean, 3300, because we've got more rear end room than that. But anyway, you should only slash enough to pull the waist up to your waist. If you've made the muslin and the muslin is 3 inches below, maybe I would maybe go to a larger size. 3 inches is a lot. If you think it's right, but I would try maybe going to a larger size and see if that works better. Okay? Okay. All right, how can you tell whether the stretch is horizontal or vertical to the stripes on a piece of fabric? How can you tell? You mean like online? You must mean online. We usually say it. We usually say the stretch is with the stripes or the stretch is opposite the stripes, because it's kind of important to know that. The herringbone ponte fabric, that fabric is stunning, and guess what? The stretch is it was perfectly made for yoga pants. So the herringbone can go vertical and the stripe is going the other way. Is that a beautiful piece of fabric? I was so excited when I saw that. So yes, and anytime you have questions like that, let me know. And when you guys email me, it's really helpful because we'll go back in and clarify it, and you're helping kind of a whole bunch of other people. Okay. All right, so let's start. In our pattern of the month is 350. Our topic tonight is spring blouses. I had so many ideas. There was no way we could pack them all into a webcast. So over the next few webcasts, I'm actually going to produce more spring blouses just so that we can really see the differences. So tonight I kind of stuck to 350, which is Stephanie's blouse, just so we could really focus in and tap in on this blouse. I really like this blouse. It was sent to me by a gal named Stephanie. She's a member of the American Sewing Guild up in the eastern part of the country. She had worn this blouse, and it just got to where it was worn out, and she just loved the blouse. She wore it a lot, and so we took it and duplicated it and made a pattern out of it, called it Stephanie's blouse. What I love about the blouse is that it has a kimono sleeve, but if you'll notice underneath there's a little bit of a seam. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this. I'm going to use this as my muslin. Okay, now I made this up. I made changes to the styling of this, and I'll go over that in a little bit. But I really, you should do a muslin, and I'll tell you why. Because anytime you start eliminating seams, you're going to have less control than when you had those seams. So for instance, this is a kimono sleeve. And when I have a kimono sleeve, I do not have a vertical seam right there. I don't have a set-in sleeve. And when I don't have a set-in sleeve, I lose control. And what concerns me is that as you're larger busted, you will have fabric going to places you may not want it to go. Now these are really easy things to fix, but a real quick muslin is a really easy way to do and see what you're going to have and where is it going to go funky. I can make the blouse up, decup, and not have any issues at all. I love it. And you're going to see the differences between a linen fabric and a softer fabric. But again, I can correct those things in linen fabric and go on, because I did make this in a linen just so you could kind of see the differences. Okay, so the very first thing you're going to watch for when you're doing that is along the side here. Okay, now because this is a princess seam, sorry that it's black, I don't actually have to use that one. I could use, I'm going to put this one on the mannequin real quick, because you're not going to be able to see that black as well as you can see this. No, hang on 2 seconds. You know how brand new buttons are? They don't go through these buttonholes as fast as you want them to. It seems like everything I've made lately has the new stretch cottons, because I just love the way they look. Now the linen one, the one I have underneath here, I've taken circumference out of. So it's going to fit a little more snugly than this blue one. Okay, so this is on good enough. What I want to show you is the side here. There can be wrinkling right in here. And if I want to take that away, or even if I just want to clean it up a little bit, it's very simple to do. And I'll do that with just a dart. So this is going to be my two-ended dart. It starts at the side seam, and it will automatically taper to nothing right there at my princess seam. And you can see how much cleaner that is once I do that. So remember, anytime I have a princess seam, that's going to clean up that little section underneath there if my pattern has any kind of ridges in there. And again, to make it really sharp and clean, why not take that away? That's why I'm saying to you, the pattern fits well. And a lot of people say to me, after I drape something, it's so much better than what it was beforehand. So that's why I'm saying to you, watch this little panel, because I can take a dart. If I have a dart here, I'm going to take it to the back, and I'm going to do the same thing. Alright, so it'll be a little two-ended dart, and it will end, the biggest part is at the side seam, tapers to nothing at the front princess, it tapers to nothing at the back princess. Okay, easy enough. Questions on that? Watch for that. Okay, the other thing you want to watch for is the angle of the shoulder. Now, because I don't want any gapping in here, because keep in mind I don't have a seam there, and because I don't have a seam there, I'm likely, because I've lost that control, I'm likely to have a little bit of gapping there. So watch this angle of the seam. It's very easy to pick it up. It's very easy to clean it up, and you can see that there's a little bit more there, and when I go to pick it up, there's a little less. So I can pick that up, I can clean it up, I can tighten it up just a little bit. But all I have to do is, obviously there's no sleeve to change, but I just start here, and then I just increase, and I can really do whatever I want. I could end it wherever I wanted to, but I would just go ahead and take it throughout the bottom. Go ahead and take it throughout the base of the sleeve. Okay, now one thing I really liked about this pattern when initially it was sent to me was it is a kimono sleeve, but it has the advantage of this little seam underneath here. So what that does is that really dictates some of that extra fabric that typically is in a kimono. I can take it away. Now be careful, because if I take too much away, I'm not going to be able to lift my arm. So there's that compromise between fitted and overfitted. Really, it's called in the industry overfitted, where we've just gone a little bit nutso. But I can, and again, because this seam is in the front and this seam is in the back, I can take out here and it'll taper to nothing here. Sometimes when I've been in fitting classes, I've taken this seam all the way up. I've taken it actually out of here too. If there's extra fabric gapping in here, I've actually taken it all the way up and the darts ended up here. So that may happen to you. And it's a great fix. I'm actually going to pin that out now just in case that does happen. But don't be afraid to use that seam and narrow this little section right here. Remember, the dart can end right there at the shoulder seam. And just if you do it at the front, do it on the back as well. Alright? This all fits really, really well. I'm doubtful you'll have any problem with any of that. The only other thing I want you to watch is your sway back. This has got a center back seam. So you can see sway back, that's what it's going to look like. Your angles are, your diagonal wrinkles are going to go to the back. With a center back seam, the best thing about the center back seam is not just the correction of the sway back that you can do, but it's also nice because you can really shape that center back seam right into you. Not only do you have your princess seams, but you've also got those two, the center back seam to really make that great. When you're doing a sway back, do it above the waist. I want you to taper it to nothing to the princess seam. If it won't taper to nothing, if it's still got extra fabric there, take it all the way to the side seam, not a big deal. So this is going to go all the way to the side seam. It tapers to nothing at the side seam. And you can see how much better that looks after we've done that sway back adjustment. I have a sway back, so I have to do the adjustment. I know pretty much when to do it and where to do it. I didn't do it in this blouse because I wanted you all to see it. This is kind of my muslin. Now don't be afraid to use the center back seam and shape it and take it in a little bit, and don't obviously get too tight, but it's a great place. If it hangs straight, it'll make us look heavier. If it's shaped in the back, it makes us look much thinner. And we could have a massive tummy and huge hips, still shape the back. Don't think because your tummy and hips are large you don't have a beautiful shaped back. So don't forget the back because it makes us look thinner in the back. Okay? I took, you know, I measured all this. So let me just, I measured it but I don't remember. So let me just grab my curve right here just a second. Yeah, the short sleeve, I think it was 11 inches. No, 16 inches. So here's the pattern. And what I did is I went up 16 inches from the hem, from where the sleeve would go. I went up 16 inches on the front, the back, and then there's this little piece that's the blue right there. Go 16 inches from the bottom of that, and then all your pieces will match. And that's what I did, and I really like that length. I really like the length. It's a really nice sleeve. I mean, it covers. This is the extra that I was talking about. See right there, kind of right there. You can clean up the shoulder seam right there. But if you have that, that's where you can come in with the seam and literally pin it out and taper it to nothing right in there. Now you can do the back and don't have to do the front, or you can do the front and don't have to do the back. You just got to go to 0 at that seam. Okay, and with that seam there, it's very easy to make those adjustments. So this, even though it's a kimono sleeve and you don't have all the control, it's really, you can make a really beautiful fitting blouse. I really love the pattern. It's got a lot of specialty items in it. Okay, any questions on fitting? Well, there is no shoulder width. The question was, what about narrowing shoulder width? There's no shoulder seam, so you would just shorten the sleeve. If the shorter sleeves are going to make you look wider or shorter sleeves. So it's like the blouse I have on. There is no shoulder seam. So you don't, that one you don't have to worry about. You don't have to worry about sleeves. There's no sleeves. Does that make sense? All right, I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to take this one off here for a minute because what I want to do is talk about different, I want to talk about the sewing of the blouse here for a little bit. You know, remember the whole blouse in an hour that we did? We did that with classic blouse. I think this is less time. It has no set-in sleeves. The side panel is very quick and very easy, and it's really works up quick. All right. Let me Make sure I get all these pins out. Put a lot of pins in this thing in a few minutes. Yeah, okay, good. It does make sense, you guys. And the most exciting thing is it's starting to make more sense so that when I say it, watch for these areas. Um, you clearly get it, you understand it, and it takes your blouse from just being an okay blouse to really being a blouse that looks fabulous and that people really notice it because those little tweaks just make a lot of difference. Okay. All right, so a little while ago we talked about you know, well, I think what we had discovered at Silhouette Pattern was that we had an audience, and the good news is that we have a lot of new people who are joining our webcast, and to them I want to say welcome. Our PBS show, we are on over 20 million households in a month, which honestly, you guys, I got to tell you, I'm stunned. I really am. You know, we did this thing last October. We filmed it. I know y'all know this. You've kind of been through this journey with us. And some point in December, I remember thinking, like, did we really film that PBS, or was that just kind of a little nightmare back there? But it really did start on. TV stations have picked it up, and we're in almost 20 million households. By mid-June, we have commitments to be in over 40 million households. So it actually is working. It really is working. And what's happened out of that is because March 2nd was our launch date, so we've been on the air now about a month. We have a lot of new customers, and a lot of new customers are learning about our webcast. And you know, as they come into Silhouette Patterns, for those of you who have been with me for a long time, been with the webcast and loyally for 3 years, you kind of know what's going on and you know what's happening. They're like, wow, man, I'm so overwhelmed. There's so much here. Where do I start? Type philosophy. So we're thrilled to I just tell them, watch the webcast. Just join in, watch the webcast, and don't even try to ask questions. Just watch and listen. And I think that that's a really helpful place to start for them so that they can just kind of absorb. There is a lot of information that we're really interactive in right now, and it's, you know, a lot. So anyway, we really want to extend a special welcome to all of our new customers. We really appreciate that, and it's very exciting to feel this growth. So PBS number 2 is going to happen in 2 weeks. We're going to film it in a couple weeks. We're doing a whole pre-sale now. I think a lot of you have really chipped in and helped with that. We need all that we can get. So if you haven't done the pre-sale, do that. I'll tell you a little bit more about it later. Okay, so now what I want to do, whenever I do a pattern, I always want to offer you up changes, because what we notice when we make one pattern is when we go to make it the second time, we make it faster. The first time there's learning curves, we're trying to figure out the instructions, yada yada yada. But the second, third, whatever times we make it, it really goes faster. But do we really want 5 blouses that are exactly the same? So my goal in making this and offering up these changes for you is so that you can make it again, but feel like it's a different blouse. All right, so time number 1, I made this. This is a new fabric. We just put this up. It's called brown blue circles. I just love this. It's a linen. It's got a little bit of poly in it, but it's a linen. I mean, it's not a linen. I'm sorry, it's cotton. And then we did that with a blue panel on the side. I used brown Pontoroma as my base, is what I wanted. So when I was approaching this, I wanted all of these tops to kind of mix and match with one another. So my white could go with the brown, and the brown blue could go with a brown Pontoroma, and then I did this one other, and I'll talk about that in a minute. This one was really done just like the pattern. The only reason I'm really showing it to you is I want you to notice the collar and how the collar is done. Once I actually create the collar, and in this particular case, because this fabric's a little bit see-through, I used the turquoise on the back so that when you went to have 2 layers of collars, you wouldn't see circle through circle. So be aware of that in blouse fabrics. If they're lightweight, maybe use a solid color on the back rather than 2 layers of whatever your print is. Whenever you have a dark side panel, you're going to look thinner. So hey, I don't know about y'all. See, look at this girl's only this wide. You know, this, you don't even see this. It kind of gets taken away. So I know most of us are in the I want to look thinner column, so this is how you do it. Use those side panels to be a solid. And I'll show you another way here in a minute. Alright, so once you've made the collar is actually just inserted as you sew the front facing to the blouse. So literally it's just sewn around. There's no notch, there's none of that too. So it's really a very simple blouse to sew. And again, there's probably a little learning curve to it. Don't feel like these points need to match exactly. As long as they're in the ballpark, the whole thing will line up without any problem. Okay, easy enough? You can always shape this. Don't be worried if it's too big in the waist, because after I get it done, I can always shape it. What I did is I top stitched, but I waited, I shaped it, and then I top stitched. So you kind of want to hold off that order, because once you top stitch, you don't want to then go and fit it. You want to fit it and then top stitch. Okay, so when I did number 2, which is this one right here, I just love this fabric, and I totally realize that when you guys look at these fabrics online, it's totally different than when I'm seeing them, because these knits I bought out of New York, and they're actually from Paris. There's a whole group of them from Paris, and they're just absolutely exquisite to feel. They're just stunningly beautiful. This is I knew the name of it last week, but I don't know the name of it. But there's two. There's the whole one that's kind of the watermelon and brown and oranges and yellows, and then there's a blue tone. And they're the same fabric, they're just two different ones. And they're panels. So they're cut in panels, and the panels are like a yard long. And so the panels have, I'm going to turn this around because you can get a little bit better feel for the fabric if I turn it around. So I matched this, so you can see that there's my center back seam, and you can see that that's all matched. And I mean, it was very easy to match because you cut it out at the same time, and then you just take a seam. So it matches. I shouldn't say I matched it. It matches, unless you just really screw it up. It matches automatically because of how you cut the fabric. But what I love about it is how unique and different the fabric is, and it really looks like it's a completely different layout of the same fabric, which it's not. It's just that the fabric is so different itself that it really gives you this beautiful effect. Then at the end of the panel, there's just stripes that go across the panel, and so what I did is I took those stripes and I laid the side panel down at an angle. So I took those princess seams and just put them at a bias on those stripes so that I got the movement on the side panels and got some distinction between the side panels and the front. And so again, having the side panels are striped and kind of on a bias, you get a much thinner appearance because you really only see this much of her body. Okay, then I come in, and because I love knits. I mean, we all love knits. What you don't see often is you don't see knits with collars. And I think, number one, they're very time consuming to sew because they're a little more difficult to sew than a woven. And so a lot of manufacturers, just when they go to put a collar on a knit, they just either don't or they use a woven. So what I loved about all these cottons, these stretch cottons, is they match beautifully. The colors are so nice, and they're just really fun, where I picked probably 3 or 4 colors that would have worked with this top. I finally went with this watermelon color just because I just loved the brightness of it. So the blouse itself is a knit, and then of course the collar and the front is a woven tab. And again, it's easier to sew, so if you're worried about doing all of that, this is really easier to sew. This little piece here was the underarm piece, and whatever color you've cut here, just make that the same color, and that way you won't have, especially if it's darker like what mine was, you don't want to put a light color under here. It's really going to draw too much attention to there. This just kind of sits down and rests. Okay, love the top on. It's just great. White pants in the summer. Again, I did this with the brown yoga pant because it's spring right now, but it could easily transition into making a completely summery type outfit as opposed to a spring. Okay, any questions on that? The other thing I like about a woven collar is I think the knit looks neater with a woven collar. A lot of times knit collars shrink and get wrinkly, and I don't know, they just don't really look all that great. Alright, so then what I did, what I was going to say a little bit earlier, is we decided that because there's so many different levels of people watching, that everybody needs something. So for some of you who are just starting into sewing, you want to do the fitting, and then you just want to make the blouse as it is, and you get comfortable with it. And for those of you who are more advanced, we want to push you up a notch, and you're going to have some changes on this, and they're fun changes. They're easy changes, but they're fun. And of course, you guys know I love zippers, so we put a zipper down the front, and this is still $3.50. Okay, so 2 panels work for this top. It does, yes. Yeah. Are we still okay? Are we having fun? It is, you guys. I have so much fun. I've got so many more ideas than what an hour will last. So anyway, we're pushed back a few more webcasts, but we'll get it all in. It's just, but you got to get sewing. Is that fair? And I've been watching this New York weather because we go to New York this week, and I've been so worried because New York, well, the whole Upper East Coast has been so cold, and even where they had like snow last week, I'm thinking, oh my gosh. But the April fabric trip has always been beautiful weather, and next week it's in the 50s and 60s. It's like perfect. It just warmed up just for our buying trip, I'm sure of it. So I'm just really excited to go. All right. Okay. Um, well, if you're buying the fabric from us, you've got to do a yard. We don't do less than a yard, but you only need, I don't know, a quarter yard. But what I would do, and what I thought about doing, you guys, is do a little tank top underneath here, because I think this would be adorable, and do a tank top to match. I think it'd be really cute if it was open like this, worn open with just a little tank underneath. The other suggestion is do a little caprice to go with it in whatever fabric matches this, because I think that would be cute to have your pants and then just the band and the blouse match together. So, but again, I mean, there's some fabrics I cut a yard of just so I could play with. I'll show you in a minute. All these, yeah, these are all the stretch wovens. We've got some beautiful spring colors, really, really pretty. This is watermelon, is what it is. But there's a whole cascade of them. Khaki, navy, yeah, all kinds. Okay, so let's go through the changes that we're going to make on this. So you guys, scarves are still really big for spring. Don't know why, not sure how, but they're everywhere. I mean, they're just the accessory items in Nordstrom's, Neiman's. They're full of scarves. So we did our Latoll scarf because it's beautiful. It's from Paris. You get a little, if you can't go to Paris, you get a little bit of feel of Paris right here for you. But it really worked with this whole outfit here. Okay, so I wanted a zipper. I wanted a zipper down the front. So anytime you put a zipper in the front, and I wanted to eliminate the collar. I decided I didn't want to collar. I wanted to simplify it is really what I wanted to do. So I took away the collar, and I used my French curve, and I just cut a neckline that was curved. So from my original pattern, this is a linen. You guys, we'll have this up tomorrow. This is a linen that we don't have up. And this is I don't think you can see this border print, can they? Yeah, this border print is really beautiful. Let me just tell you what I'm going to suggest you do with the linen. The linen, here's the linen, but I washed it in Coca-Cola. Anytime you come across a fabric that you just want to, I mean, it works with denim, but there's many fabrics that it works on. And to see the before and after of this linen is stunning. It really is incredible. So I just took it, like I cut 2 yards. I lost 2 inches. With 72 inches, 2 yards, I only lost 2 inches. Threw it in the washer, threw it in the dryer, poured in, I have a front loader, poured in a can of Coca-Cola. It's just wonderful. I mean, literally, like I wouldn't mind it being a pillow. It's linen. I mean, it's really beautiful. So this is linen. It's a little slight herringbone linen. It's very pretty. It'll be online tonight. It'll be on. There's 4 more fabrics that I've got to get up tonight, and I didn't get those fabrics up. Okay, so that's the front. Notice the sides being black. You don't even see the side of her. She looks so skinny. The zipper really helps because if you notice, everything's vertical. Okay, so on the pattern, I just simply took the French curve and took away, base of the neck you leave, and well, you cut off the center front, or on the center front you want to leave just a seam allowance. I left a ½ an inch. So all you want to do is turn it back to put the zipper in. But because the zipper actually leaves like 3/4 of an inch, you may not need that whole ½ an inch to the left of the center front, but you can always take some more away. So I would leave a ½ an inch. So when I redrew my neck edge, I redrew it from the base of the neck to a ½ inch, center front's marked on your pattern, to a ½ inch to the inside, outside of center front. Okay, and that's how I created that. Didn't do anything here. I wanted the bottom straight. I wanted it to look more like a jacket as opposed to um, a blouse. So when I did that, just come into your side panels, and if you notice at the bottom of your side panels, they're very curved because the blouse, kind of goes down and up and all that. So just lengthen this side and even it up with this point. So from this point over here, go straight up. Okay. Then the other thing, I didn't change the back at all, except, can you all see these shoulder seams here? Can you see what I did with those shoulder seams? Yeah? Okay, so that's chain. It's chain in there is what it is. It's a black, it's a really pretty chain. It's not just a link. It's kind of like a multi-link. Here, wait a minute. You know what? I actually have this here. Because I left it all here so I could show you. It's, see how they're, I don't know, it's just a really pretty chain. But I mean, you can insert chains, you can pick anything you want. But also, it's very lightweight. I just got this at Joann's. Hancock's, Hobby Lobby, Michael's, they all have these really lightweight chains. And they're made for crafts, and so they're just really light. This one was black, which is exactly what I wanted. Okay, then this was a skirt I did with a border print. And I'm going to take this skirt off so that you can see it, because this skirt's really pretty. This fabric's really pretty. But this is one of the ones that I didn't get up. No, the side black matches this skirt. It's 100% cotton. Here's the skirt. Go ahead. I'm listening. The Coca-Cola just softens. I don't know chemically what it does, but it just softens the whole fabric. And I mean literally, when you get the fabric, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to wear this? But I mean, I've been told, and so even when I still buy this, I'm going, this is going to soften. And my guy in New York go, it's Coke. It's Coke. You got to wash it with Coke, man. I've told you. Anyway, so he's right. You just throw it in with Coke, and it comes out literally like a baby blanket. When I was cleaning out the lint, I thought, oh, I should keep these to show my ladies how much lint comes out of this stuff. But the whole entire lint thing was this beautiful, soft, beige lint. I mean, it was so soft, and I almost thought, okay, what can I do with this lint? But throw it away. Don't get that resourceful. But anyway, so this is this is a border print that I started with, and I made this skirt. This is 2913. This is 2913 is Nick and Zoe's best-selling skirt, I think is what it is. So I love this. It's all embroidered. This is all embroidered, and it's really, really pretty. I love the lines, and I really wanted to take advantage of all this in the top portion. So this is what the side panels are. They're the black cotton. No, this is a woven. Yeah, this is all done in woven. Okay, so this is a woven. It's a very lightweight cotton. It's beautiful. This embroidery is really beautiful. So on the shoulders, what I wanted is I just took one of these stripes from my extra fabric. I just took one of the stripes and I made this, I just folded it together and just stitched on top. You can't see the stitching. It's all black and beige. But I made a long piece, and then I cut it in little, they're like 1.5 inch long. I cut it in little 1.5 inch sections. I just went went down and cut them, and then I serged each end so they wouldn't ravel like crazy. Folded it in half. I looped it through the chain and sewed it onto the blouse. That's how I attached the chain. So if I go back to here, the chain stops short of the neck edge because I don't want it in the neck edge, because then I have to sew around, and it also stops short of the sleeve edge because you don't want to do that. Now if you wanted to, you could put a piece underneath the chain. The chain does not bother me at all when it's on, but some people said, oh, wouldn't that bother you? No, it wouldn't bother you. It doesn't bother me a bit. But you could if you just didn't want it to be see-through, because you can see a little bit of skin underneath there. You can see when I do that. But you could just literally put a piece of fabric underneath there, and it would really just be completely decorative instead of anything else. Now, what I did, though, the point I was trying to make is I did one, two, three, four, five, six little intervals. So just every, that's probably 2.5 inches. I went in and did a little thing. And I did it on the front side and the back side of the same link. So it would hold it in place and keep it stable. Now the other thing, what I was going to tell you is, I actually made the chain and made the links before I was ready to put it on the blouse. And then I measured how wide this span was, and it was 1 inch. So I cut away 1/2 inch from this side and 1/2 inch from this side. So where I cut that away was right along here. It's right along the shoulder ridge. So that's what my pattern looked like because I had shortened the sleeve. So right along here, so that it wouldn't be, I wouldn't want it to lower the bust point, I didn't want it to affect the fit at all, I literally just cut away 1/2 inch. Okay, so because now my facing had changed also, I also had to redraw the neck edge of the facing, and I left this the same, and then I had to draw a back facing. So though there was 4 changes. There was my front and my front edge, there was the bottom that I straightened out, there was a little 1/2 inch that I took off front and back here, and then I had to make a front facing. I had to make the back facing. Okay, and when you make a back facing, I literally just put it down, trace, let me pull the back up for you so you can visually see it as I'm doing it. I trace the back neck edge, I trace the width that I want it, which is going to be the same as the front facing, I trace how deep I want it, and then I connect the two. So if I'm going to take this off for just a minute, no, I did it all by machine. You guys know better than to ask me that question. No, because I'll show you how I did it by machine, because I put my zipper foot on where the needle was over here and the foot was over here, and so all I did was go right along, and I hemmed the blouse at the same time I was stitching down these little, what do you want to call them, connectors? The little connectors. So the whole thing can be done by machine. There wasn't anything hand at all. The only thing I had to do by hand is you've got to literally take them and put them through the chain, and then you've got 2 sides like this. I put the fabric right in between them. So make sure you're folding in the middle, but when you put in between, one's on top and one's on the bottom, and it just reduces the bulk and it makes it lay a lot flatter. It really, figuring it out was the main thing. That's why y'all will do this a lot faster than I did, because I knew I wanted some kind of peekaboo up here. I just didn't know what I wanted. So I really like this. I really, really like it. I think it's really exactly what I wanted. I just wanted some detail. Show the inside. The inside's beautiful. So there's just where I turned it back. You could, I thought about this, because the fabric on the skirt is so much fun, the border print, you could make this the outside and then take, more of that trim and just put it on top of the seam and decorate it. I mean, there's a lot of fun things. This trim is really great trim. I really liked it. It was fun to work with. So you can see I just kept going and going and going and got more and more ideas, and it's really dangerous when you have time to have fun. And then don't forget, you got to put a little label inside. So you got to put a little label so that especially it's from the back, you guys, because you can see it looks at the back and it doesn't look homemade because it's got that label drawn on there. So they don't know who that label is. They just know there's a label in there. That's really silly, huh? Okay, but anyway. Okay, so now then, because I had my skirt, and because, I'm going to wear this skirt. I really like the skirt. And every time I wear it, I'm not going to want to wear the shirt and the scarf and all that kind of stuff. So I just threw up together really quickly another t-shirt. So there's my skirt. And this is another great fabric we got in. But before we even got it in, I had ordered it, but I hadn't kind of put 2 and 2 together. I had seen a t-shirt by Bailey 44. You guys know I watched that line. I really like that line. But it's a new t-shirt. And the zipper goes up the side, and actually the zipper teeth go around the sleeve. So you could, if you didn't have any arms, you could zip that zipper all the way up. So it's sewn together. The tape is sewn together at the very top of the sleeve. and then literally it just opens up so that your arm comes out, and you can make the armhole as high or as low as you want to. I just love this top. But you know I'm a fetish for zippers anyway. Anyway, so this is Anne's top. So what I did is I just wanted a little simple t-shirt so that if I just wanted to wear the skirt on a little simpler basis with a t-shirt, I could do that. But because I wanted a little pop of color, I used this little lime green. We've got a new lime in. It's the rayon knit. So I wanted just a little bit of color, and I decided to do that lime rayon around the neck edge. So this is Anne's top. It's 115. I didn't make any changes. It's got the French dart. Everything's the same. I just put the zipper in the side of the arm. I made a short sleeve, and I only did it on one side. I just wanted it to really pop attention-wise. I made the band wider because I really wanted that green to stick out a little bit, so that band is 1 inch wide. And then because a 1 inch band, if it's that wide, will ruffle a little bit if it's not tight enough, I made a little V-neck. So you can see on the inside, just stitch a little dart right there in the middle, and that will make it a V. So this is Anne's top, which is a rounded neck. I left off the collar and just gave you a little V-neck to make on that. Okay? Okay. Now the green is really supposed to be finished on this too. I haven't finished this, but this is going to be my drawstring, and it's going to be, this should have a little tie in the front, and it's going to be my little tie right here again, because I think the lime is so current and trendy that even though it's not a good color on me, I can still make white. I can still make colors that I like and put a little pop of green to where it's enough that it just makes it look current, but it's not so much that it shows how bad green looks on me. So that's the best way I know to say that. It's great for just making blacks and whites and colors like that really look a little more current. Okay, so 350, that should give you a lot to do with it. I think it's a great pattern to have. So many of the changes of making the princess seam, of making the kimono are done for you. The changes in going from pattern 600 to 350, they're the same blouse, same fit and everything, but there are a lot of changes. So you know, if it's not a lot, I wouldn't do it as a pattern of the month, but because there's so many changes, I think it's a great pattern of the month for us to do. Okay, questions. I know we're at time, but are you okay? Everybody's good? Okay, so then let's go on, and there's a couple other things I want to talk about. Tonight we are you know, we have some wonderful sponsors on this whole PBS thing who have really supported us greatly. So Steady is a company who've done the tables, and I know everyone who's ordered these tables loves the tables. I mean, how can you not love this table? But not only do they love it, I think they don't love it just because it's a table. They love it because their sewing's gotten so much better because that space is flat, and it makes such a difference. They want to know, for any of you who have the tables, you know, we've had many conversations. What can we do better? They're really large in the quilting world. They feel like they've left out the sewing industry. They feel like they really want to be in touch with the sewing industry, with garment industry. I think I should say that a little clearer. They really want to get to the women who are sewing garments. That's us. And so I said that we would make a really valiant attempt. And so she said, but we want to do better. We want to do, what can we do? And I said we would. They offered us some really good discounts, so we're putting them up. I don't think we've got them up yet. I don't think we've got them finished. We were still working on them before, and everybody has to quit and come do the webcast. But anyway, we'll finish them up tonight, and we're doing some specials with that Sew Steady table. But in the meantime, she said she wanted to give us a bag, and she wanted us to give away this bag. But the main reason and even if you don't have the table, this bag would be great. It would be great to it holds all kinds of great stuff, and it has places for your sewing supplies. It's a great little travel bag. It could be a garment bag, to be honest, but anyway, it's a really nice bag. So for those of you who have the tables, if you would, as you've used your tables, if you have an idea on what they can do to make it better, what would you like to see? Is there something on there that they're missing? It's a great table. I haven't been able to come up with anything, but you guys are smart, and if you can think of something that you would like to see, or would could suggest that they make it an improvement for you, would you let us know, because they're really open to what ideas you want. All right, so if you would do that for me. Okay, so just mail them directly to me. Email Peggy@silhouettepatterns.com. Let me know your ideas. I'll forward them. But we really want your feedback. And a lot of you have these tables, so we really appreciate that. And we know that you appreciate them because they're a great company. They really are. But also, just in talking to about PBS, I want to make sure that you understand that when you order the pre-sale of the 200 series, which is the series we're filming, you get the pattern with that DVD order. No matter, I mean, if you order just the pattern, you don't. But if you order that DVD, just the DVD, the pattern will come with it. No charge. There's no charge on that. So the advantage of the pre-sale is you get the pattern. And that will only go through the 20th of this month. Okay, so you've got another week or so to do that. I think that's it. It's 9:00. Are we late? We're late. Oh, okay. All right. Thanks you guys so much for being here. We're just having so much fun behind the scenes. I feel like I haven't seen you in a long time. The next webcast is not in 2 weeks because of the PBS taping. I won't be here, so we're going to have to go 3 weeks. And what we're going to do next time, then 3 weeks, it's April, I'm sorry, it's May. No, it's still April. It's actually still April because today's the 7th, 21, it's 28th. April 28th will be the next one. I want to do jumpsuits. I'm going to show you how to do jumpsuits. Jumpsuits are just all over the place. There's lots and lots of them being done. They're print. They're so cute. Even some of the jumpsuits are capris, but I just think they're so fun and they're so flattering. They're like a sheath dress, but jumpsuits. So we're going to do some jumpsuits. I'm going to make some. I'm going to show them to you, but I'll also have some new spring looks in some other patterns at that time. So it won't be 2 weeks that we see you. It'll be 3 weeks that we see you. Except if you're going to New York. If you're going to New York, we'll see you in a couple days. So I'm so excited about going to New York. All right. Someone's going to win this bag. Okay, and the person who wins this is the first person who types in "so steady." Why? We didn't ask the question. But you didn't ask the question. No, the question was, what is the name of the acrylic, what was it? What brand of acrylic table surround your sewing machine to make your surface flat and make your sewing the very best it can be? And the answer is So Steady, and they win the bag. SS Deb won. And SS Deb, do you have the tables? Oh, reply to Brett, please. If you have the tables, these are just really fun because when we do workshops, everyone brings their tables, because what you find out is when you don't have a table, or when you have a table, you can't sew without one anymore because you're so used to everything being up flat and steady. So when you take it away, it's like, where's my table? So if you have the table, you need the travel bag. But what they're doing this month is they're giving a free travel bag. They're doing a deluxe kit. And that's actually through the end of the month. But we'll have that up tonight. We'll email it out tomorrow and go from there. We have a lot of work to do still tonight, don't we? But that's because we ran so far behind today. There was too many things that came up, which is why I don't prepare for the webcast on Monday. Mondays are just too busy days. But we got it all done. We're excited. We appreciate y'all being here. And we'll see you in 3 weeks, April 28th. All right? Sounds good? Thanks, ladies. Good night.